The story of the Garden of Eden is the theological use of mythological themes to explain the human progression from a state of innocence and bliss to the present human condition of knowledge of sin, misery, and death. In Milton's epic poem Paradise Lost, the Garden of Eden was the paramount place. It's the story of the creation of man, and most significantly, of man's act of disobedience and its consequences. The Garden of Eden represents mankind's loss of innocence. Good evening, my friends. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me for another episode of True Crime Jesus. On February 13th, 2017, 14-year-old Liberty German and 13-year-old Abigail Williams were abducted and subsequently murdered while walking on the nature trails at the Monon High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana. Liberty managed to record video and audio of their killer. Yet, somehow, over 4 years later, the suspect has yet to be identified. A generation of Delphi teens lost their innocence on Valentine's Day 2017. As police recovered the bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. The small town of Delphi, Indiana would never be the same. Its innocence, or perhaps its illusion of innocence, was forever shattered. Prior to the murders, Delphi was a sleepy little town where everyone knew each other. A place where people felt safe leaving their doors unlocked. That's not to say that Delphi didn't have its share of its issues and its crimes, but that is typical of most small communities. However, with the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, Delphi's innocence was shattered and paradise lost. In February 2021, Carroll County Sheriff agreed to answer questions solicited by the Carroll County Comet from its readers. While all the questions submitted were pertinent, there was one question with serious legal consequences that deserves an immediate answer. Sheriff Lazenby was asked, "Would you advocate for a special prosecutor, given that the current prosecutor is allegedly related to the German family and also employs the former Delphi Chief of Police, Steve Mullen, and the former Delphi Mayor, Shane Evans?" Lazenby's response, "As sheriff, it is not my role. However, should the issue be of a concern to Prosecutor McClelland, he will make the fitting decision." An issue of concern? Law enforcement has repeatedly stated, "We have only one shot of getting a conviction and cannot risk jeopardizing the integrity of the case."
My main goal is to protect this case, to make sure that we don't do anything to jeopardize trying this case once we have someone arrested.
Did Prosecutor McClelland strike a Faustian bargain? County Prosecutor McClelland must address this issue. Prior to being installed as county prosecutor, Nicholas McClelland was acting attorney for the Deer Creek Township Board. My friends, who do we know that also serves on the Deer Creek Township Board? None other than Dan McCain. Remember, both Dan and his brother David, aka Flannel Shirt Guy, were identified as being at strategic locations on the trails, or kill zone, during the crucial time on February 13th, 2017. Both were seen carrying walkie-talkies. Dan McCain was identified as being at the cemetery, while David McCain was identified as being at the Monon High Bridge, directing Derek German down the wrong trail. According to anonymous sources, David McCain was the witness that provided the older sketch to law enforcement, which they later rejected. My friends, County Prosecutor Nick McClelland has every right to hire individuals he believes will strengthen his office. However, the hiring of Shane Evans as Deputy Chief Prosecutor certainly has raised concerns. Shane Evans has been discussed on Reddit and various Facebook groups in regards to his possible involvement in the tragic events of February 13th, 2017. If a knife is used in a sexual homicide like this one, the offender will insert himself into the investigation 24% of the time. There has been speculation that Shane Evans is the suspect on the bridge, identified as Bridge Guy. Evans shares many of the same physical characteristics as Bridge Guy. Most troubling of all, Evans always has his hand in his left pocket and shares that same peculiar gait as Bridge Guy. Local sources describe Shane Evans as a narcissist. In his senior year, Evans was class salutatorian. The class valedictorian was Kylie German, niece to Libby. Did Evans harbor lingering feelings of resentment or of inadequacy? Both are classic characteristics of a narcissistic personality. Former Mayor Evans and Steve Mullen are good friends. Once Evans resigned as mayor, sources have come forward with concerns regarding his obsession with law enforcement. Many have stated that Evans overstepped his boundaries on numerous occasions. Examples include him knocking on doors to notify families of ordinance violations. These are duties usually done by a compliance officer, not a mayor. In Delphi, only if the police chief resigns, then would the mayor be the acting police chief until a new one is appointed. Mayor Evans had what could be described as an obsession with the activities of law enforcement. This is also a characteristic that many serial killers share. According to Evans' own daily logs, he would regularly go on ride-alongs with Delphi police officers. Evans was also known to respond to fire calls and was seen directing traffic at accident scenes. There were complaints that he would show up at police calls and attempt to micromanage their activities. The Indiana State Police allowed Evans, while mayor, to attend strategy and information meetings on the Delphi murder case. The Delphi City Council had Evans on a tight string, requiring him to submit a monthly activity report. In what may be interpreted as contempt, Evans listed eating tacos while writing this report as one of his activities. For the month of February, which would have included his activities on February 13th, the tragic day in question, it is interesting to note that Mayor Evans, without explanation, never submitted an activity report. The Delphi Council agenda of February 6, 2017. On February 13th, 2017, Mayor Evans didn't show up to search until after 8:30 p.m. His excuse was that nobody had notified him. Many find that excuse suspect, since he was the highest ranking official in Delphi, and he had a very close association to local law enforcement. Most troubling, and perhaps telling, was Shane Evans' mannerisms at law enforcement's first press conference. As evidenced on video of the proceedings, Evans appeared to be very uncomfortable, swallowing hard with a nervous lip twitch approximately 15 times over the course of only a few short minutes. We would not have captured this had Evans not shaved his characteristic beard. Evans appeared uneasy, eyes glancing around over 15 times with his head down. These numbers are very conservative and don't take into account the approximate 5 minutes that he was blocked from the camera. My friends, in Delphi, Paradise Lost teaches us to recognize good and evil. The difference between the two help us understand what we should seek and most certainly what we should avoid. Evil is unavoidable, but as long as one exists, so does the other. We must ask ourselves, dear friends, which side do we want to fall on? and then we must act. That's all the time we have for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please do me a kindness and do so right now. This episode was brought to you by Ben & Jerry's Chocolate Therapy Ice Cream. True Crime Jesus eats this ice cream every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My chosen method of ingestion is by milkshake, as it allows me to eat more ice cream faster. I literally have chocolate running through my veins, ladies and gentlemen. This video would not have been possible without the help of my good friend, Blue Angel. I'd like to thank him greatly for co-writing this episode. So until next time, my dear friends, this is True Crime Jesus, signing off.